You felt it before you understood it. Something changed, not in your clothes, not in your words, in your presence. You walk into spaces now and the air feels different, heavier, sharper, alive. Listen carefully. You are not imagining this. You are not becoming paranoid. You are becoming powerful. There are moments when conversations pause as you enter, when laughter softens, when eyes shift, and you ask yourself, why does this keep happening? Because you are not ordinary. You never have been. You are marked, set apart, carrying something the room did not authorize, but heaven did. You thought your isolation meant something was wrong. You thought the distance meant you were too much, too intense, too quiet, too different. No, you were being calibrated. What you are feeling now is the evidence. There are 9 divine markers that reveal your physical presence is radiating a supernatural holy frequency. Not a metaphor, a frequency. And not everyone will understand this. Only the chosen recognize it. If this message resonates deep in your spirit, align with it. Stand with it. Subscribe. Signal that you are awake. Because what is happening to you is not random. It is activation. First, you carry an atmosphere that shifts rooms without words. You noticed it. You walk in. You say nothing. And yet something rearranges itself. Conversations hesitate. Not from fear. From disruption. Spiritual disruption. Darkness does not like being observed, and your presence observes without speaking. You are not loud, but you are seen. Chaos subtly reorganizes itself around your stillness. Have you noticed that the tense person grows quieter? The restless energy softens. The unspoken tension surfaces. You did not try to control it. You simply stood there. Because your presence has become a silent decree. And here is the revelation. You carry internal alignment now. You fought battles in private. You endured seasons where no one clapped. You survived misunderstanding, rejection, loneliness. Those battles purified your frequency. What once made you feel out of place was preparation. You were isolated because your spirit needed refinement. You were misunderstood because your assignment was uncommon. You were resisted because darkness recognized what you did not yet see. Now it is visible. People feel exposed around you, not because you judge them, but because your clarity highlights confusion. Your peace agitates chaos. Your groundedness unsettles instability. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply reveals it. That is what you are doing now, without effort, without announcement, without permission. This is why some gravitate toward you and others withdraw. This is why certain rooms welcome you and others tighten when you enter. You thought it meant you were socially awkward? No, it means you are spiritually carrying weight. Your body has become an altar. Your presence a declaration. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to dominate a conversation. Your stillness speaks. Stand firm in that. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. Do not dim to avoid reaction. Reaction is confirmation. What you carry is holy, and holy things disrupt what is unclean. This is only the beginning. Second, darkness reacts to you before you even speak. You have seen it. The sudden irritation, the unprovoked resistance, the shift in tone that makes no logical sense. You walk in calm, and someone becomes defensive. You offer nothing but presence, and someone feels threatened. Have you ever wondered why you were not attacking? You were not competing. You were not demanding attention. Yet something in them flared. This is recognition, not human recognition. Spiritual recognition. Envy surfaces without explanation. Strange tension fills the air. People misread you, project onto you, withdraw from you, and you thought it meant you did something wrong. No, you triggered what they were hiding. Light does not argue with darkness. It exposes it. And exposure feels like attack to those who are not ready to change. You are opposed not for what you do, but for what you emit. That is the revelation. Your frequency agitates unhealed places. Your stillness confronts instability. Your clarity unsettles confusion. You are not loud, but you are disruptive, not by effort, by essence. This is why certain people distance themselves without reason, why some friendships dissolve without conflict, why you become the silent target of subtle warfare. Because spiritual warfare now initiates on sight. The enemy does not wait for your announcement, he reacts to your arrival. Before you fully recognize your authority, darkness does. Before you accept your anointing, opposition confirms it. Listen, ordinary people are ignored. Chosen ones are resisted. The world flows around the average, but it pushes back against the marked. Favor attracts warfare. Calling invites testing. Anointing exposes insecurity. You felt isolated, but isolation was not rejection, it was filtration. Certain people could not stay because your frequency began rising. Certain environments rejected you because you no longer matched them. You outgrew what once tolerated you. And that friction you felt, that was elevation. You are no longer invisible to the unseen realm. You are identified, and identification comes with reaction. Do not shrink when resistance appears. Stand firm. Resistance is confirmation. When darkness reacts without cause, it is because your presence carries cause. You thought you were too intense. You are calibrated. You thought you were too different. You are marked. Not everyone will understand this. Only the chosen recognize it. When envy surfaces, do not internalize it. When irritation appears, do not absorb it. When withdrawal happens, do not chase it. Let it separate, because separation protects the assignment. You are entering rooms that cannot contain hidden agendas. You are stepping into spaces where masks begin to slip. This is not coincidence. This is activation. You are not being attacked randomly. You are being acknowledged spiritually. Darkness does not mobilize against what is weak. It mobilizes against threat. And you are becoming a threat, a quiet threat, a holy threat, a walking disruption to what once operated unchecked. Let that settle. This is only the second marker, and it gets deeper. Third, children and animals sense your spirit instantly. You have seen it, the way a child stares at you, not with suspicion, with knowing, the way they move toward you without hesitation. Sit near you, speak freely around you, no performance required. And animals, they soften, they settle. They trust you without introduction. Have you noticed that where adults calculate, they respond? Where the world analyzes, they recognize? This is not random. The innocent are not distracted by mass. They are not impressed by status. They are not influenced by image. They respond to essence, and your essence is clean. Listen carefully. The innocent gravitate toward you because they feel safety, not weakness, not passivity, safety. There is a difference. Your presence does not manipulate, it does not pressure, it does not dominate, it anchors. Where others feel confrontation, children feel comfort. Where others sense exposure, animals sense peace. Why? Because purity recognizes purity. This is the revelation. Your frequency has been refined through fire. You endured betrayal without becoming bitter. You faced rejection without surrendering your heart. You walked through warfare without losing your compassion. That refinement created spiritual clarity. Children sense what is unthreatening to their spirit. Animals sense what is not predatory, and your spirit carries no hidden agenda. That is rare. The world taught you to toughen up, to harden, to build walls, but you did not lose your softness. You strengthened without corrupting. You became sharp without becoming cruel. That balance is holy, and the pure can feel it. You wondered why children open up to you quickly, why they confide in you, why they look at you with unusual attention. It is because your spirit does not frighten their spirit. The world sees you as intense, but the innocent see you as safe. That contrast matters. Darkness reacts with irritation, but purity responds with peace. You carry both confrontation and comfort, both authority and gentleness. That is spiritual maturity. That is frequency alignment. Your energy calms what cannot be intellectually convinced. You do not argue a restless child into peace. You do not lecture a nervous animal into trust. They respond to vibration, and your vibration carries alignment. You were afraid your sensitivity made you weak. No, it made you precise. You were afraid your compassion made you vulnerable. No, it made you trustworthy. The enemy cannot manipulate what is internally aligned, and innocence instinctively knows when it is safe. You are not just spiritually dangerous to darkness. You are spiritually safe to the pure. That duality is powerful. Hold on to it. Do not let the world harden what heaven refined. Your presence is becoming both sword and sanctuary, and this is only deepening. Fourth, you no longer need to announce authority. It is felt. You remember when you tried to explain yourself, when you over-clarified, when you fought to be understood. You do not do that anymore. And something shifted. Now when you speak even softly, the room leans in. Not because you demand attention, because your words carry weight. Have you noticed it? You whisper and it lands. Others shout and it scatters. That is not personality. That is authority. Authority does not beg. Authority does not perform. Authority does not chase validation. It stands. And you have begun to stand differently. Strangers confide in you as if summoned. They tell you secrets they never planned to share. They look at you and feel seen. You did not ask for that, but your presence feels like permission. This is the revelation. You have stopped striving for power. And because you stopped striving, it settled on you. Real authority is not noise. It is alignment. You endured seasons where your voice was ignored. You spoke truth and were dismissed. You carried insight and were overlooked. That was not humiliation. That was formation. Heaven was stripping performance from you, removing insecurity, burning away ego. So when authority arrived, it would be clean. Now leadership finds you without self-promotion. People look to you in crisis. They defer to you in tension, even when you do not seek the position. Why? Because your frequency carries stability. In a chaotic world, stability feels like command. You do not panic easily. You do not react impulsively. You do not crumble under pressure. That steadiness speaks louder than titles. The world respects volume, but the spirit realm recognizes weight, and your silence commands more than others shouting. Let that settle. Silence that carries authority is dangerous to darkness, because darkness feeds on noise, confusion, overreaction. But when you enter, steady, grounded, unshaken, you disrupt the pattern. You are no longer intimidated by dominant personalities. You are no longer impressed by external status. You see through it, and that clarity gives you calm. You once thought your quiet nature made you invisible. No, it made you observant. You once thought not fighting for attention made you weak. No, it made you secure. Security is threatening to insecurity. Calm is threatening to chaos. Authority is threatening to ego. This is why some resist you without reason. You remind them of what they are not anchored in. Do not shrink back into performance. Do not return to over-explaining. Stand in the authority that is settled on you. It was earned through warfare. It was refined through isolation. It was sealed through obedience. You are not trying to lead. You simply carry weight, and weight bends atmospheres. The deeper you align, the heavier it becomes. This is rising. Fifth, you feel energetic drain around certain spaces and surge in others. This is new, or maybe it has always been there, but now it is undeniable. You walk into a crowded room and your body tightens. Your chest grows heavy. Your thoughts scatter. Nothing visible happened. No one touched you. No one spoke against you. Yet you feel it. Dissonance, spiritual noise. You used to call it anxiety. You used to blame yourself. You thought you were too sensitive. No, you are discerning. Crowded environments expose spiritual imbalance instantly. You feel when conversations are hollow. You sense when motives are layered. You detect tension before it surfaces. Others call it mood. You know it as atmosphere. And then there are other places, quiet spaces, sacred spaces, moments alone in prayer, moments in nature, moments in worship, and suddenly you surge, energy returns, clarity sharpens, breath deepens, no caffeine, no stimulation, just alignment. Have you noticed that your body responds to environments like a compass? It tightens in darkness. It expands in light. This is not weakness. It is instrumentation. Your body has become a spiritual instrument. Where others walk through spaces unaware, you register shifts immediately. You feel when something is off. You feel when something is holy. Like others discern weather by temperature, you discern atmospheres by vibration. You are not dramatic, you are calibrated. The revelation is this: heaven is tuning you. The warfare you endured heightened your sensitivity. The rejection sharpened your intuition. The isolation refined your awareness. What once overwhelmed you is now guiding you. You no longer ignore the drain. You pay attention. Because drain reveals misalignment, and surge reveals assignment. When you feel exhausted around certain people, it is not random. When you feel energized in certain places, it is not coincidence. Your spirit is responding to frequency. Darkness depletes, light restores. You are no longer surviving environments blindly. You are discerning them. This is power awareness. You are not just walking into rooms. You are reading them. You are not just feeling emotions. You are interpreting atmospheres. That changes everything. It means you are no longer at the mercy of environments. You choose them. You protect your energy. You withdraw when needed. You engage when aligned. This is maturity. This is spiritual authority embodied. The enemy once used your sensitivity to exhaust you. Now it guides you to strategy. Listen to it, honor it. Do not override what your spirit registers, because your body is not fragile. It is prophetic. It reacts because it carries something sacred, and sacred things respond to contamination. You are becoming more precise, more aware, more intentional. This is not random evolution, it is activation, and it is building. Sixth, divine synchronicities multiply around your movement. You have seen it. The right call at the exact moment. The unexpected opportunity after a hard decision. The door that opens only after you choose obedience over comfort. You call it timing, but it feels deeper than timing. It feels orchestrated. Have you noticed how things align when you commit fully? When you hesitate, everything feels delayed. When you decide boldly, things begin to move. Not slowly, suddenly. Doors open at the precise moment obedience aligns. Not before, not after. Right when you surrender control. That is not coincidence. That is coordination. Heaven responds to movement, and you are moving. You used to think life was random, that blessings were accidental, that breakthrough was luck. No, you are stepping into rhythm. Timelines shift when you make bold spiritual decisions. You choose integrity over approval, and suddenly new connections appear. You release what was draining you, and suddenly clarity expands. You say no to what feels wrong, and what is right finds you faster. That is not magic. That is alignment. The revelation is this: your obedience is activating acceleration. Favor follows surrender. Warfare intensifies when you rise. But so does coordination. You once felt delayed, forgotten, outpaced by others. But those delays were strategic. You were being positioned. Now when you move, things respond. You are not chasing destiny anymore. Destiny is responding to you. Coincidences now follow you like confirmation seals. You think about someone and they call. You pray for direction and the answer appears. You question your next step and a sign interrupts your doubt. Not everyone will understand this. Only the chosen recognize when heaven whispers through timing. This is reinforcement. You are spiritually protected. Even in warfare, doors open. Even in tension, provision appears. Even when the enemy resists, something unseen rearranges the path. Darkness tries to block you, but light reroutes you. That is authority. You are not stumbling forward blindly. You are being guided precisely. And precision means you matter. Heaven does not coordinate around the casual. It coordinates around the called. And you are called. Stop dismissing the patterns. Stop minimizing the alignment. When obedience feels costly, but alignment follows, that is confirmation. Stand in it. Move boldly. Because when you hesitate, warfare increases. But when you step forward, favor accelerates. You are no longer waiting for signs. You are living inside them. Heaven appears to coordinate around your steps because your steps are no longer random. They are intentional. They are aligned. They are watched. This is not coincidence season. This is confirmation season, and it is only intensifying. Seventh, isolation has transformed from wound to weapon. You remember when loneliness felt heavy, when the silence felt like punishment, when the distance from others felt like proof that something was wrong with you. You watch people gather, You watched connections form easily for others, and you stood apart, alone. And you asked, why me listen? It was never rejection, it was refinement. Loneliness no longer weakens you, it sharpens you. There was a time when isolation made you question your worth. Now it strengthens your clarity. You think deeper when you are alone. You hear clearer when the noise is gone. You feel stronger when you are not diluted by distraction. That is not coping. That is transformation. Solitude now strengthens your spiritual frequency. Where others panic in silence, you stabilize. Where others need constant validation, you find internal confirmation. You are no longer afraid of being by yourself, because you are not by yourself. Isolation used to feel like abandonment. Now it feels like alignment. The revelation is this: you were separated because your assignment required concentration. You were removed because your spirit needed strengthening. You were distanced because proximity to certain energies would have weakened you. The world saw distance. Heaven saw protection. Separation was preparation for radiance. Let that settle. While others were being shaped by noise, you were being shaped by stillness. While others were chasing approval, you were building foundation. While others were distracted, you were being disciplined. That discipline is now visible. You are not easily swayed. You are not easily influenced. You are not easily manipulated. Because you learned how to stand alone. Darkness isolates to break people, but heaven isolates to build them. The enemy wanted you to feel unwanted, but God was making you uncommon. That difference changes everything. Now, when solitude comes, you do not crumble. You sharpen. You think strategically. You reset spiritually. You strengthen internally. You carry something now that cannot be erased by absence. You no longer fear being misunderstood. You expect it. You no longer chase belonging. You embody identity. That is dangerous to darkness, because a person who is comfortable alone cannot be controlled by rejection. A person who finds strength in silence cannot be manipulated by noise. You were trained in the wilderness, and wilderness training produces unshakable warriors. You are no longer asking for company to confirm you. You are standing in calling. You are refined. You are focused. You are prepared. And the radiance that is forming around you was born in hidden seasons. Not everyone will understand that. Only the chosen recognize the value of separation. What once felt like a scar is now armor. What once felt like abandonment is now authority. You are not alone. You are set apart. And this elevation is not finished. Eighth, your presence provokes conviction in others. You have felt the shift. You enter a space and suddenly someone grows quiet. Not because you accuse them, because something inside them surfaced. You did not preach. You did not confront. You simply existed. And that was enough. Have you noticed how people either rise around you or retreat? There is rarely a middle ground. Some become inspired, focused, motivated to change. Others become defensive, agitated, strangely distant. Why? Because your frequency forces a decision. Light does not negotiate with darkness, it reveals it. And when you carry light, people see themselves more clearly. That clarity feels like conviction. You are now a mirror no one can comfortably ignore. Not a mirror of judgment, a mirror of truth. People confront their own stagnation around you. Their excuses feel thinner, their compromises feel louder. You do not say a word about their habits, yet they feel exposed. You do not criticize their path, yet they question it internally. That is not manipulation, that is spiritual gravity. You are no longer blending in, you are contrasting. The world thrives on distraction, but you carry focus. The world normalizes mediocrity, but you embody discipline. The world excuses compromise, but you radiate alignment. And alignment is uncomfortable to the unaligned. This is the revelation. Your growth is now catalytic. When you evolve, others feel it. When you elevate, others must decide, rise or retreat. That tension you feel around certain people. It is not conflict, it is crossroads. You represent movement. You represent progress. You represent what they could become if they were willing. Some will thank you for it. Some will resent you for it. Do not internalize either reaction. Stay anchored. Because conviction is not your burden to carry. It is their awakening to process. The enemy hates this about you. He cannot hide comfortably where you stand. He cannot operate casually in your proximity because you are no longer passive, you are catalytic. You do not just survive rooms, you shift them. You do not just exist in conversations, you redirect them without effort, without noise, without performance. You are spiritually dangerous because you awaken choice, and choice exposes allegiance. People must decide who they are around you. That is power. You once feared making others uncomfortable. Now you understand it. Comfort is not always kindness. Sometimes disruption is mercy. Stand firm. Do not dim your frequency to preserve false peace. Peace built on avoidance is fragile. Peace built on truth is unshakable. And you carry truth. That is why some cannot stand near you for long, not because you attack them, but because you reveal them. And this revelation is building towards something greater. Ninth, your body has become a living conduit of holy fire. This is not symbolic. This is not poetic language. This is reality. You feel it. When you stand your ground, something shifts. When you refuse to bow, something breaks. When you remain calm under pressure, the atmosphere rearranges itself. Why? Because your physical presence now carries an unseen charge. You are not just thinking differently, you are emitting differently. Have you noticed how conflict de-escalates when you stay firm? How confusion clears when you speak a single sentence? How tension collapses when you refuse to participate in fear? Battles shift simply because you stand. Not because you fight loudly, not because you force outcomes, because you hold position. That is fire. Holy fire does not panic. It consumes. It purifies. It advances. You are no longer just awakened. You are activated. Awakening was awareness. Activation is authority. Awakening opened your eyes. Activation put weight in your spirit. You used to sense warfare around you. Now warfare senses you. There are territories you enter that cannot remain the same. Environments that destabilize when you walk in. Systems that begin to crack under your consistency. Not because you are aggressive, because you are aligned. Alignment carries voltage. The frequency you radiate now threatens darkness at a territorial level. Let that settle. You are not just affecting conversations, you are affecting atmospheres. You are not just influencing individuals, you are disrupting patterns, generational patterns, cultural patterns, spiritual patterns. And darkness does not ignore territorial threats, it monitors them. But here is the difference. You are protected, you are covered, you are backed by something older than opposition and stronger than resistance. Every trial you endured was insulation. Every rejection you survived was reinforcement. Every lonely night was training. You were being forged into a vessel that could carry fire without being consumed by it. You wondered why the pressure was so intense. Because the capacity being built was immense. Now you stand differently. You breathe differently. You move differently. You are not fragile. You are charged. And nothing ordinary can extinguish what heaven ignited. This is destiny solidified. This is identity sealed. You are not becoming chosen. You are chosen. You were never ordinary. You were never random. You were never overlooked. You were being prepared. Prepared for weight, prepared for fire, prepared for impact. Stand firm. Do not shrink back now. Do not question what you carry. If this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, declare it. Comment 9 if you recognize these divine markers rising in you. Let the unseen know that you are aware. Subscribe. Stay aligned. Because this is not the end of your activation. This is the beginning of your expansion. You are chosen. You are protected. You are divinely assigned, and nothing formed against you will stand.